You know that feeling, that little knot in your stomach when you think about money?
Hmm.
Maybe it's questions like, will I ever get out of debt? Or how will I ever buy a house?
Or even just, am I stuck? Yeah,
Yeah, am I stuck in this financial rut forever? If those thoughts bring like a feeling of dread, trust me, you are absolutely not alone.
it's true. Money worries are a huge source of stress for so many people.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how something so fundamental to our daily lives can feel so, I don't know, daunting and opaque.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's precisely why we're doing this deep dive.
Yeah,
We've taken a stack of material articles, research, insights, all focused on personal finance,
right.
our mission, to
Yeah.
help you move from feeling financially scared to financially savvy.
Yeah, we've worked to pull out the most important knowledge, the really actionable insights from all these sources.
Hmm.
The goal is really to equip you with the understanding and, crucially, the confidence you need to make sound financial decisions. It's about seeing money as like a powerful tool, something to help you build the life you truly want.
Rather than something that dictates your happiness or holds you back.
Exactly.
Think about how much emphasis we place on physical or mental well-being these days. We dedicate time to exercise, meditation, healthy eating.
Sure, yeah.
When so much of our overall well-being is tied to our financial state, isn't it time we dedicated that same energy to our financial health?
It makes total sense. Even small steps can make a world of difference over time, can't they?
Definitely.
So let's dive into this then. Let's unpack what it really means to cultivate that financial savvy and well-being.
Okay, let's unpack this. The material defines financial savvy as something more than just, having money.
Right.
It's fundamentally about having freedom from money worries. It's like the opposite of living hand to mouth or constantly struggling with debt.
Yeah, it's about possessing the knowledge and this is really key, the confidence to make decisions about your money.
Confidence, yeah.
Decisions that, when you make them consistently, help you build the life you envision over time.
Right.
It's feeling comfortable enough to talk about money, to think about it strategically,
Yeah.
and most importantly, to actually do something, to take action.
That comfort level, yeah, that's key to financial well-being, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So if comfort and action are the goal, where do you even begin? One of the first steps the sources highlight is setting financial goals.
Hmm.
And yeah, okay, setting big, long-term goals can feel incredibly intimidating.
Oh, absolutely. And the most practical advice here from the material is to take those big, scary future goals like buying a home or retiring early
Yeah.
and break them down, chunk them into smaller, more manageable, and truly obtainable mini goals.
Okay.
Things that feel achievable in the short term, you know?
That makes so much sense. So instead of, I want to retire by 55, maybe it's, I'm going to increase my pension contribution by 1% this year.
Exactly. Or instead of, I need to clear all my debt, maybe it's just, I'm going to pay an extra 50 pounds off my smallest debt this month.
Right? Small wins. They build momentum.
Precisely. These goals aren't just distant dreams, they're motivators. They're there to stretch you, to encourage you to step a little outside your comfort zone
Okay.
and really consider what you actually want out of your life and your money.
And to keep that momentum going, the material suggests reviewing your goals annually and tracking your progress.
Yeah, tracking is important.
Keeping maybe a simple financial summary, like a spreadsheet of your assets and debts,
Yeah.
and lets you see how you're doing against those goals.
And looking back and seeing those milestones met, that's incredibly rewarding. Keeps you inspired, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Now, as we built that financial savvy, there are some fundamental realities we need to navigate, as Benjamin Franklin famously observed.
Oh, yeah.
In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes.
Yes, taxes. Not exactly the most thrilling topic, but absolutely essential for financial savvy.
Can't avoid them.
No. The sources delve into a few key types. Let's maybe touch on the basics.
Okay, first up, income tax. Pretty straightforward concept. It's the tax paid on your earnings.
Right.
The material explained the system is progressive, so you pay higher rates as your income increases. They gave specific tax brackets and allowances from a few years back, like the personal allowance where you pay 0%.
Right. But the key takeaway here isn't the specific numbers from the past, it's understanding the concept. Your income is taxed in tiers, and there's a bit you don't pay tax on.
Exactly. And the crucial thing for you now is knowing that these rates and thresholds change frequently.
Always check the official government sources. Gov.uk is usually the place for current figures that apply to you.
Definitely. Another significant one is capital gains tax, or CGT.
Okay.
Now, this isn't a tax on the total amount you get when you sell something, like a house or shares. It's specifically on the profit, the gain you've made on assets that have increased in value.
The profit bit is important.
Very.
And there are some important exemptions, right? Like your main home.
That's typically exempt, yeah. Also, transfers between spouses or civil partners, and crucially, investments held within ISAs.
Okay.
And there's also an annual tax-free allowance for gains. You get a certain amount of profit each year before CGT kicks in.
Right. The sources mention the specific allowance for a past year, but again, it's the concept. A chunk of your gains is tax-free.
Exactly. And the rate you pay on gains above that allowance depends on your overall income tax band.
Ah, so it's linked to your income.
Yeah. The sources gave specific percentages for basic and higher rate taxpayers for that past year, and noted that a really large gain might even push you into paying at both rates.
Wow.
The main point is, when you make a significant gain outside of common exemptions, CGT is probably going to apply, and the rate is linked to your income.
Got it. The material also briefly mentioned other taxes exist, like dividends tax, inheritance tax,
Yeah.
just sort of flags them as part of the landscape, but didn't go deep.
Yeah, just acknowledges they're out there. Understanding these core concepts, though, gives you a solid foundation.
Okay, so with that foundation, the next crucial step seems to be effective budgeting and managing spending.
Absolutely key. And the sources propose an interesting target here.
Yes, the 20-30% rule. So ideally, you're aiming to set aside somewhere between 20% and 30% of your take-home pay
Your net pay.
for savings, investments, retirement insurance,
Yeah.
all that future stuff.
But they were realistic about it, too. They acknowledge this is often a target to work towards, not necessarily where everyone can start.
Which is reassuring.
Definitely. And a brilliant, really actionable tip that came from the material is this. When you get a pay rise,
Yeah.
make a deliberate choice to save or invest the difference, the gap between your old pay and your new pay.
Okay. Because otherwise it just gets absorbed, doesn't it?
Exactly. Your spending tends to creep up to match your income. So saving that difference immediately helps you boost your savings rate without really feeling the pinch.
Smart. It's those small, often overlooked spends that really derail progress, isn't it?
Totally. The sources point out the cumulative impact of that ad hoc spending the extra coffee you didn't plan, the last-minute taxi home.
They feel tiny at the time.
Individually, yeah, but they add up dramatically over weeks and months.
How do you figure out where it's all going?
To truly get a handle on it, the sources strongly recommend keeping a spending diary.
Okay, like actually writing it down.
Yep. For at least 2 to 4 weeks, ideally a full month, track every single penny you spend, whether it's in a notebook or an app.
Wow, every penny.
It sounds like a lot, but it reveals your spending patterns, identifies waste, and shows you where small adjustments can free up money.
Like cutting back on something you do often, but maybe don't need to do quite so frequently?
Exactly. Maybe changing how often you get a haircut or packing lunch more often. Small tweaks.
And before you buy something, the material suggests a simple but effective check. Ask yourself a few questions.
Yeah, like, do I really need it? Will I be glad I bought it this time next year?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Is it actually good value for money? And simply, can I afford it right now?
Those questions can really cut through the impulse, can't they?
Definitely.
Shopping around is key, too. And the sources highlighted how technology makes this much easier now.
Yeah, loads of apps can help. Finding cheaper food, comparing grocery prices, locating free ATMs, storing all your loyalty cards digitally,
Cashback offers, too.
cashback offers, voucher apps. The idea is just using the tools available to make sure you're getting the best value.
They even mentioned being aware of things like the pink tax.
Ah, yes, where products marketed to women just cost more for essentially the same thing. It's about being a savvy consumer.
And watching out for that bargain trap, the anchoring thing.
Right. Retailers show you the original price to make the discount look amazing. But the material rightly points out a deal is only a good deal if you are actually planning to buy that item anyway.
Don't let a perceived saving justify an unnecessary purchase. Good point.
Reviewing direct debits annually is another big one for finding savings. Oh yeah, those little monthly things that add up.
Exactly. See if you still need every single subscription. Can you
Right.
get them cheaper? Can you switch providers?
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah. The sources give examples like potentially canceling expensive TV packages if you don't watch them much, or using comparison tools for energy deals.
Apparently the savings there can be significant. Hundreds of pounds a year sometimes.
Often possible, yeah.
Ah,
Just by switching providers or even small adjustments like turning down the thermostat by just 1 degree.
wow. Getting creative is part of it too, isn't it?
Definitely. Selling stuff you no longer need clutter. Learning to say no sometimes to expensive social invites if they don't fit the budget.
Yeah.
FOMO, fear of missing out, has a real cost.
True.
Or using tricks like leaving items in an online shopping basket for 24 hours to curb impulse buys.
I've heard of that one. Does it work?
It often does.
Yeah.
Gives you time to think. And planning ahead for predictable expenses like gifts, buying them in sales throughout the year instead of last minute. Okay, so you've got your budget, you've identified where you can maybe save a bit. How do you actually stick to it day to day?
Good question. The sources mention practical methods like using cash for certain categories, like your weekly food shop or going out money.
Right, the envelope system.
Or using pre-loaded payment cards. The core idea is knowing your fun budget, the money you've allocated for socializing, hobbies, non-essentials,
Yeah.
and sticking to that specific amount without dipping into money needed for bills or savings goals.
And a really popular and effective method the material highlights is separating your money using online banking subaccounts or pots.
Ah, yeah, virtual jars.
Exactly. You create pots for different goals like holiday fund, annual car expenses, new laptop savings.
It makes the money feel earmarked, tangible somehow.
Yep.
Helps you resist the urge to spend it elsewhere.
Yeah, I can see that.
And having a dedicated account just for those known annual costs, car tax, MOT, Christmas, insurance premiums, that's super helpful.
How did that work?
You just add up all those annual bills, divide the total by 12, and then set up a monthly standing order for that amount into that separate account.
Ah, so it smooths out those big lump sum expenses?
Exactly. It keeps the money safely put away until the bill is due.
When you're doing your budget, the sources advise counting everything, right? No hiding categories.
Pretty much. Don't try to kid yourself. The only place you might be less granular is tracking tiny cash spends if they are truly within your defined, ring-fenced fun budget.
Okay,
The goal is visibility and control.
got it. Planning for holidays is another area where finances can easily go off track. The sources offer some tips here.
Yeah, being realistic is paramount.
That picture-perfect, Instagrammable holiday
Hmm.
looks amazing, but is it worth getting into debt for or derailing your long-term goals?
Exactly. The sources caution against peer pressure spending when it comes to travel. Don't feel you have to keep up.
And they made a strong point about the financial hangover from putting a holiday on a credit card.
Yeah, that feeling can last much longer than the actual trip enjoyment. Planning ahead is key.
Look at your calendar. Review what past holidays cost you. Actively look for savings.
And when you're actually traveling, be really mindful of spending money abroad.
Ah, the fees.
Yes. Many credit and debit cards charge hefty foreign transaction fees, sometimes 3% or even more.
Ouch.
The sources advise shopping around for cards specifically designed for travel that don't have these high fees. They do exist.
Good tip. And insurance.
Non-negotiable, according to the sources. Buy it when you book the trip.
Okay.
Consider an annual policy if you travel frequently. It can be cheaper. Always check what cancellation scenarios are actually covered.
Right, the small print.
Exactly. And if you're traveling in Europe, get a European Health Insurance Card, EHIC, or the new GHIC. But remember, the material emphasizes this is not a substitute for proper travel insurance.
You need both.
You need both for comprehensive cover.
Okay, stepping back slightly. Another way to improve your financial picture is, well, earning more, boosting your income. The sources touch on asking for a pay rise.
Yeah, and even small increases can make a big difference over time.
Using online net pay calculators can show you the exact monthly impact of a potential rise. That's powerful info.
It is. But the real question the sources pose is what you'll do with that extra money.
Right, will it just disappear into slightly higher daily spending?
Or will you make a conscious decision to save or invest the difference? As we discussed, spending tends to rise with income.
Yeah, lifestyle creep.
Exactly. So the material really pushes saving that difference immediately. Make it automatic if you can.
It's also worth considering negotiating benefits beyond just salary, isn't it?
Absolutely. Would a higher pension contribution from your employer or private medical insurance or maybe better sick pay coverage improve your overall financial security more than a slightly higher cash salary?
Something to think about.
Especially if you're switching jobs. Always compare the total package salary plus all the benefits. Don't just look at the headline salary number.
Good advice.
And the sources touch briefly on the gender pay gap, suggesting you research market rates for your role and consider what colleagues of a different gender might be earning.
And if there's a disparity.
It's grounds to ask for an increase to match. Use the data.
Okay. With all these different accounts, goals, taxes, keeping things organized is paramount, isn't it?
Oh, hugely.
Yeah.
The sources dedicated time to tidying up bank accounts and the thing many people dread, sorting financial paperwork.
The paperwork pile.
Exactly. It's common to have old bank accounts lying around, often with rubbish interest rates. The
Yeah.
simple step is just list all your accounts, check the rates, decide which ones you truly need, and assign a clear purpose to each one you keep. Close the rest.
That makes sense. And that pile of paperwork, the sources acknowledge the common drawer of the box system.
We all have one. They suggested dedicating focused time, maybe even half a day or a full day initially, to create a proper filing system.
Okay, yeah.
Practical advice: get a shredder for old stuff, get some labels, get some folders or a small filing cabinet. Gather all your financial documents from wherever they're hiding.
All of them. Okay.
Then create clearly labeled sections for each major area: bank accounts, different insurance policies, utility bills, investment statements, pension stuff.
Right.
File the newest documents at the front of each section so the most current info is easiest to find.
And then try to maintain it.
Yeah, the goal is to maintain it by filing regularly, maybe once a week, and do a bigger clear out annually.
The material gave guidelines on how long to keep different documents too, didn't it? Like tax records?
Yeah, things like tax records for 6 years, pay slips maybe for a year after the tax year ends, insurance docs until the policy ends, and any claims are settled. Knowing this helps with the annual clear out.
Okay. And keeping that financial summary spreadsheet updated listing assets, debts, that's not just for organization, is it?
No, it's a powerful tool for tracking progress towards your goals. It keeps you motivated when you see the numbers moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I can see that.
Automating bills via direct debit is generally recommended for consistency. Pay on time, avoid fees.
But sometimes paying annually is cheaper.
Yeah, the sources noted that for some things, like certain insurance policies, paying annually might offer a significant discount. In that case, it's worth setting aside money monthly for it in one of those dedicated savings pots.
Right. We talked about tech for budgeting, but technology can help with broader finance management too. The sources mentioned several types of apps.
Yeah, loads out there. There are apps that help with auto saving, analyzing your spending, and cleverly moving small, affordable amounts into savings for you.
Like scraping the pennies.
Sort of. Others aggregate all your bank and investment accounts into one dashboard, so you can see your entire financial picture, everything in one place.
That sounds useful.
Can be really eye-opening. Some apps offer roundups, taking the spare change from your card purchases and automatically investing it.
Oh, yeah. Others help you segment your income as soon as you're paid, allocating it to different pots or goals automatically.
And lots of the newer digital banks build budgeting and spending analysis right into their main app features, don't they?
They do. The point is, there are tools out there designed to help automate things and give you better visibility of your money. Worth exploring what might work for you.
Okay. Now, let's talk about something that can feel like the heaviest weight for many people: debt.
Yeah, a really important topic. The sources really highlight the significant impact debt has on your well-being.
Like the isolation, the strain on relationships, the sleepless nights.
Absolutely. There's a well-documented link between debt and mental health, and it often creates this really difficult cycle that's hard to break.
And it's easy to get into debt, isn't it? Credit is just so readily available.
It is. And it's often used for non-essential things, leading to living beyond your means. Plus, life events, divorce, unemployment, illness can suddenly make previously manageable debt feel overwhelming.
The material covered different debt types, too.
Yeah.
Like overdrafts. Yeah, overdrafts are often mentally overlooked, aren't they? But they can be surprisingly expensive, especially unauthorized ones with daily fees or high interest. You need to include them in your total debt picture.
Right. And credit cards, obviously.
The big one. Clearing them in full each month is absolutely vital to avoid those high interest charges racking up.
Automating minimum payments helps avoid missed payments, but it's not enough, is it?
No. And the sources point out something interesting. Standard practice often means your payment clears new purchases first, leaving the older, high-interest debt sitting there accruing interest for longer.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The figure mentioned for average UK household credit card debt in the material over £2,200 is pretty sobering, especially when they noted it could take over 25 years to pay off just making minimum payments.
25 years. That's shocking.
It really highlights the danger. Student loans were also discussed, particularly the UK system.
Yeah, where repayment is linked to your income above a certain threshold.
Exactly. And the debt is eventually written off after 30 years. The specific figures change year to year, but the principle of income contingent repayment is the key concept. It works differently to other debts.
And family loans can be tricky.
Can be flexible, but definitely carry emotional complexity. The sources strongly advise treating them professionally.
Like agreeing terms up front.
Yes. Discuss the amount, the repayment schedule, any interest, what happens if you struggle. Ideally, set up a clear written agreement, even if it feels awkward. It prevents misunderstandings later.
Good advice. So how do you actually start getting on top of debt if you're in it?
Okay, first step. List all your debts. Get accurate figures for exactly how much you owe and, crucially, the interest rate for each one. Call the providers if you're unsure. Don't guess.
Face the numbers, okay?
Then adjust your budget aggressively. You need to find ways to throw as much money as possible at the debt. Use all those spending reduction tips we discussed earlier to free up funds, cut back on luxuries.
Right.
Then the source has presented two main payoff strategies. You choose which suits you better.
Okay, what are they?
Option 1 is the logical or avalanche method. You focus all your extra payments on the debt with the highest interest rate first, while just making minimum payments on all the others.
Highest interest first. Makes sense mathematically.
It does, saves the most money in interest overall. Once that highest interest debt is cleared, you take all the money you were paying towards it, minimum plus extra, and add it to the payment for the next highest interest debt. Creates a snowball effect on the payment amount.
Okay. What's option 2?
Option 2 is the motivational or snowball method. With this one, you focus all your extra payments on the debt with the smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate, while making minimum payments on the others.
Smallest debt first, why?
Because you clear it faster. It gives you a quick win, a sense of progress, which can be incredibly motivating, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed by a lot of debt.
Ah, the psychological boost.
Exactly. Once that smallest debt is gone, you take the money you were paying towards it and add it to the payment for the next smallest debt. The payment amount still snowballs.
So avalanche saves more money, snowball might keep you more motivated.
That's the gist. The material emphasizes choosing one method and sticking to it. Whichever you choose, consistently direct any freed up money or future pay rises towards accelerating the debt repayment.
And stay focused, right? Remind yourself why you're doing it.
Absolutely. Picture the feeling of being debt-free. How will your life change? Hold on to that vision, especially during moments when you feel like giving up or slipping back into old habits.
The sources also talk about supporting yourself through this, both internally and externally.
Yeah, becoming your own sort of debt counselor. This means not just tracking your spending, but also paying attention to your feelings around money. What triggers overspending?
Knowing your weak spots.
Exactly. You can even play little psychological tricks on yourself to curb habits like the online basket trick we mentioned.
And building a support network.
Also vital. A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. Talk to trusted friends or family who are supportive, not judgmental. Or seek help from professionals if needed. Even your doctor can be a starting point.
Finding a budgeting buddy or joining a group could help too. Accountability.
Definitely. Accountability and motivation. And simply being around people who are financially savvy helps reduce that peer pressure that often leads to spending you can't really afford.
When should someone definitely seek professional help?
The source is strongly recommended if you're consistently struggling to meet even the minimum payments on your debts, or if your total debts add up to more than your annual income. That's usually a sign you need structured help. They mentioned resources are available for personalized advice.
Okay. They also included a jargon buster, didn't they? Defining terms.
Yeah, things like APR, the annual percentage rate, which shows the true cost of borrowing, including fees, or CCJ county court judgment, a formal court order demanding debt repayment, and debt management plans. Understanding the language helps you engage with the problem and potential solutions more effectively.
Okay. Phew. Deep breath. Once you've hopefully tackled debt, or if you're fortunate enough not to have much, building savings is the next big step.
Yes, and the sources frame this beautifully. Saving is a way of prioritizing your future self.
I like that.
Me too. How much you need to save varies, of course, but the absolute cornerstone, the foundation, is building an emergency cash buffer.
The rainy day fund.
Exactly. The standard recommendation from the material is aiming for 6 months' worth of your essential outgoings, held in easily accessible cash.
6 months, that sounds like a lot.
It can feel daunting, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's your safety net. It covers unexpected job loss, illness, major essential expenses like a new boiler or urgent car repairs,
Without forcing you into debt.
or having to sell investments at potentially the worst possible time. It gives you breathing room.
Do you always need 6 months?
It's a guideline. You might need more if you have dependents, a large mortgage, or irregular income. You might feel comfortable with a bit less, maybe 3 months if you're young, single, with very stable income and low outgoings. You should also add to that buffer any money you know you'll need for specific goals coming up within the next 5 years, like a house deposit or replacing the car.
So the target amount might seem scary at first, but knowing it gives you something concrete to aim for.
Precisely. And the most important thing is commitment. Decide how much you can realistically set aside each payday. Automate it if possible.
And then forget about it.
Mentally quarantine it. It's only for defined emergencies, boiler breaking, yes. Last-minute fancy holiday, no. Building this buffer first is the absolute backbone of your financial plan, according to the sources. Everything else builds on this.
Okay. And where should you keep this emergency money? The account type matters.
Critically important. It needs to be easy access, instantly available when you need it. So avoid accounts that lock your money away for a fixed term, even if they offer slightly higher interest rates. Accessibility trumps rate for the emergency fund.
Makes sense.
The sources do suggest reviewing savings rates regularly, though, maybe once or twice a year, just to make sure your emergency cash is at least earning something, even in an easy access account. Rates change.
The material also mentioned the personal savings allowance, didn't it? Something about tax on savings interest.
Yeah, that was introduced a few years back. It means basic rate taxpayers can earn up to £1,000 in savings interest tax-free each year. Higher rate taxpayers get a £500 allowance. Additional rate taxpayers get zero allowance.
So for many people, the interest on their savings isn't taxed anymore.
For a lot of people with typical savings amounts, yes, it made things simpler.
But ISAs, individual savings accounts, are still valuable.
They are. Any interest earned in a cash ISA is completely tax-free, regardless of your income tax band or how much other interest you earn.
Ah, okay.
They have annual contribution limits set by the government, and you can have cash ISAs or stocks and shares ISAs for investing. ISAs are particularly useful for higher earners or people whose savings generate interest above their personal savings allowance limit.
Got it. Premium bonds were also offered as an alternative way to hold cash savings.
Yeah, they're run by National Savings and Investments, NS&I, backed by the government. They don't pay interest. Instead, your bonds are entered into a monthly prize draw.
Like a lottery for your savings.
Pretty much. You can win prizes ranging from £25 up to £1 million, and crucially, any winnings are completely tax-free.
Tax-free is the appeal.
Especially for higher rate taxpayers who might otherwise pay tax on savings interest. The material noted the odds of winning any prize per £1 bond for a specific year, and the effective prize rate or average annual return, which was fairly low, but again, tax-free.
Is there a limit? Can you get your money out easily?
There's a maximum amount you can invest per person, currently £50,000. And yes, you can withdraw your money whenever you need it without notice or penalty. They also mentioned checking if you have any old, forgotten premium bonds with unclaimed prizes. Apparently, it happens.
Worth a check. Okay, so once your emergency fund is robust and you've got money set aside for shorter-term goals, like in easy access accounts or maybe premium bonds, then you can start thinking about investing.
Exactly. Investing is typically for the medium term, say 5 years plus, and the long term, like retirement.
It's for money you are genuinely confident you won't need to touch for at least 5 years. That time frame is important.
Very important. The core difference from saving, as the sources stressed, is that saving gives you guaranteed interest, even if low. Investing is not guaranteed. Your return depends entirely on how the underlying assets, shares, bonds, property, etc., perform, and you could lose money.
So investors take this risk hoping for higher returns.
Yes, ideally returns that beat inflation significantly over the long term, after you account for any fees and taxes. That's the goal, making your money grow faster than the cost of living.
So the sources were clear. Do not invest money you might need in the short term, say less than 5 years away.
Absolutely not. The risk is that the market could dip just when you need access to that cash. You might be forced to sell your investments at a loss or delay your plans significantly. For short-term goals, cash savings are the appropriate option. Accessibility and certainty are key.
Understanding your own risk tolerance is also critical before you start investing, isn't it?
Absolutely fundamental. How would you genuinely feel emotionally if your investments dropped in value by, say, 10% or 20%?
Probably not great.
Loss aversion, the pain of losing feeling stronger than the pleasure of gaining is a powerful psychological factor. You need to choose investments that match your genuine comfort level with risk,
Why is that so important?
so that you can actually stick with your long-term plan during the inevitable market downturns. If you panic and sell when markets fall, you lock in losses and miss the recovery. Your risk appetite might even be different for different pots. Maybe you're willing to take more risk with your pension, which is very long-term compared to an ISA you might need in 10 years.
Makes sense. And a classic warning from the material. Be extremely wary of anything that sounds too good to be true.
Oh, yes. Promises of huge guaranteed returns with little or no risk, if it sounds like that.
It's probably a scam.
Almost certainly, ask yourself, if it's that safe and profitable, why are they telling you about it instead of just keeping it all for themselves? Run a mile.
Good advice.
Ah,
The sources gave some excellent principles for actually setting up investments for peace of mind, didn't they?
they did. First, ensure your chosen investment actually matches your risk level. Read the information provided, especially for things like workplace pensions. They often have default funds, but might offer other options.
And for pensions, younger investors can generally afford to take more risk.
Generally, yes. Because they have a much longer time horizon before they need the money, giving more time to recover from any dips and benefit from potentially higher long-term growth from assets like equity shares.
Diversification was another key principle. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Spread your money across different geographical regions, UK, US, Europe, Asia, etc., and different asset types: shares, bonds, property, cash.
Why does that help?
Because different markets and asset types don't always move in the same direction at the same time. If one area or asset class dips, the others might hold up better, cushioning the overall impact on your portfolio. Multi-asset funds are one relatively simple way to achieve diversification easily.
Powell's cost averaging was highlighted as a core principle too, especially for regular investors.
Yes, this is really important for anyone investing monthly, like into a pension or ISA, instead of trying to time the market guessing the best time to buy and sell, which is essentially gambling.
And really hard to do consistently.
Almost impossible. Instead, you commit to investing a fixed amount of money every month, regularly.
How does that help?
When markets are down, your fixed monthly amount buys more shares or units of your investment because the price is lower. When markets are up, your fixed amount buys fewer units because the price is higher.
So it averages out your purchase price over time.
Exactly. It smooths out the bumps and removes the emotional stress of trying to guess market movements. The material really encourages you to be brave and keep investing your regular amount even when markets fall, assuming the underlying investment is fundamentally sound because you're effectively buying things on sale.
Okay, that makes sense. And rebalancing, what's that?
Rebalancing your portfolio periodically, say once a year, helps you maintain your desired risk level over time.
Yeah.
Let's say your target was 60% shares and 40% bonds. If shares have had a really good run, they might now make up 70% of your portfolio. That means you're taking more risk than you originally intended.
Right.
So you would rebalance by selling some of those shares, locking in some profit, and reinvesting the proceeds into bonds, bringing your portfolio back to your target 60-40 allocation. It helps keep your risk level consistent. This can sometimes be automated by investment platforms.
Okay. The sources also explain different types of investments or asset classes that make up funds and portfolios, like equities.
Equities, yes, stocks and shares in companies. Generally considered higher risk, but offer the potential for significant growth above inflation over the long term. They tend to fall during economic downturns, though.
And bonds.
Bonds are essentially loans you make to governments, like UK gilts or companies, corporate bonds. They typically offer a fixed return, a coupon payment, and are traditionally seen as lower risk than shares, providing stability and income. But this isn't always guaranteed, especially with bonds from less stable companies or governments.
Property was mentioned too.
Yes, usually commercial property held within funds, office blocks, factories, shopping centers can provide income and growth, but can also be illiquid, hard to sell quickly during downturns. Usually only a small percentage in diversified portfolios.
Then cash.
Funds hold some cash for paying fees or for buying opportunities when markets dip, but holding too much cash long-term means its value gets eroded by inflation, as it earns very little or no return minus fees.
Other asset classes were briefly mentioned too. Gold. Commodities.
Yeah, things like gold are often seen as a safe haven or hedge against inflation and instability, rallying in crises. Commodities are raw products like oil or grain. Index-linked bonds offer returns tied to inflation. Private equity involves investing in private companies, higher risk. Hedge funds use complex strategies. The important takeaway is understanding that different assets have different risk-return profiles and play different roles in a well-diversified portfolio.
And ICs can be used for investing too, right? Not just cash.
Absolutely. Stocks and shares, ISAs, are a very tax-efficient wrapper for holding investments. Growth and dividends earned within them are almost entirely tax-free. Same annual contribution limits apply as cash ISAs.
The material also touched on passive versus active investing. What's the difference?
Okay, passive investing, often using tracker or index funds, simply aims to replicate the performance of a specific market index, like the FTSE 100 index of large UK companies.
So it just follows the market?
Exactly. It involves very little human intervention in picking stocks, so the fees are typically much lower. The underlying belief is that it's very difficult for most active managers to consistently beat the market index year after year, especially after their higher fees are deducted.
And active investing.
Active funds involve a fund manager or a team of analysts actively researching and picking specific investments, shares, bonds, etc., that they believe will outperform the market index.
So you're paying for their expertise.
Yes, and consequently, the fees for active funds are usually significantly higher. Some active managers do successfully outperform the market over periods, but many don't. There's no guarantee.
So which is better?
The sources suggested passive investing is often a good starting point, especially for beginners or those with smaller portfolios, primarily because the lower costs have a big impact on your long-term returns. You can always blend active and passive later if you wish.
Okay. This leads us naturally to arguably the longest game in personal finance, retirement planning.
Yes. And the sources were absolutely clear on this. Do not file retirement planning in the to-do later pile. It's imperative. Start now.
Why are pensions so important?
They are incredibly tax efficient. As we touched on, when you pay money into a pension, the government adds money too through tax relief.
The free money bit.
Essentially, yes. For a basic rate taxpayer, paying in £100 effectively costs you only £80 because the government adds the £20 basic rate tax back. Higher rate taxpayers get even more relief. They get the basic rate £20 added automatically and can usually claim back the additional higher rate tax difference via their tax return. It massively boosts your contributions.
When can you actually get the money?
Currently, you can typically access your personal and workplace pensions from age 55, although that minimum age is gradually increasing towards 57 and likely higher in future.
Yeah.
You don't have to stop working to start drawing your pension.
Okay. And how do you take the money out?
When you first access your pension pot, you can usually take 25% of it as a completely tax-free lump sum. This is often called the Pension Commencement Lump Sum, or PCLS.
25% tax-free. Okay. What of the rest?
The remaining 75% is taxed as income, just like your salary when you withdraw it. So if you take large amounts out in one go, it could push you into higher income tax brackets for that year, resulting in a significant tax bill. Careful planning is needed around withdrawals.
The sources also mentioned a lifetime allowance.
Yes, there used to be a limit on the total amount you could build up across all your pensions, £1,073,100 when it was abolished, without facing potential extra tax charges when you accessed it. While the charge was removed, the concept of the tax-free lump sum being capped at 25% of this old limit remains relevant for larger pots. Rules can change, though.
It sounds like pensions have become more flexible than they used to be.
Much more so, especially since major reforms in 2015, pension freedoms. The material encouraged challenging any negative views you might have inherited about pensions being confusing or locking money away inflexibly. They're powerful tools now.
So how much should you aim to pay in? Is there a rule of thumb?
A common guideline mentioned in the sources is aiming to contribute a total percentage of your salary equal to half your age when you start saving for retirement.
Half your age is a percentage. So if you start at 30, aim for 15% total.
Yes, that's the target. And total includes your own contributions plus anything your employer contributes.
Okay, that sounds like quite a lot, potentially.
It is a target, remember, not necessarily a starting point for everyone. The most vital step is to start somewhere, even if it's just contributing enough to get the maximum possible match from your employer. We'll come back to that. Then aim to increase your contributions over time, especially when you get pay rises.
Why is starting early so important?
Because of time and compounding. Most people work for around 40 years, maybe from their early 20s to their mid-60s, but you could easily live for another 30 or even 40 plus years in retirement. You need a substantial pot of savings to fund that long period without working.
And starting early gives your money more time to grow.
Massively more time. This is where compounding comes in, often called the eighth wonder of the world by Einstein, apparently.
Compounding again.
It's that powerful. It's the process of earning returns not just on your initial contributions, but also on the accumulated returns you've already earned over previous years. It creates exponential growth over long periods.
So money saved or invested early has much, much longer for this magic to work.
Exactly. The sources gave an example showing that if someone saves £200 a month from age 20 to 40, 48K total saved, they could end up with a significantly larger pension pot than someone saving the exact same £200 a month from age 40 to 60, also 48K total saved, purely because the first person's money had 20 extra years to compound and grow. Time is your biggest asset in retirement saving.
Wow. Okay, what about the state pension? Does everyone get that?
The sources cover this. You need a minimum number of qualifying years of national insurance, NI contributions or credits, usually 10 years, to get any state pension. To get the maximum new state pension amount, which was around £164 a week back in 2018, according to the source, but check current rates, you typically need around 35 qualifying NI years.
Can you live comfortably just on the state pension?
That's the key question the sources posed. They highlighted that over 1 million UK pensioners reportedly relied solely on the state pension at the time of the material. You need to compare the current state pension amount against your own projected retirement budget planner to see if it would be enough for the lifestyle you want. For many, it won't be.
Which underlines the need for personal or workplace savings.
Absolutely. Workplace pensions are particularly fantastic because your employer usually has to contribute to if you pay in, thanks to auto-enrollment laws.
That's genuine free money, isn't it?
It really is. You should always aim to contribute at least enough to get the absolute maximum contribution your employer offers to match. Find out what their matching scheme is. Often they'll match your contributions up to a certain percentage, say 5%. Don't leave that free money on the table.
How do you find out about your workplace pension?
Ask HR for the scheme handbook or provider details. Understand the investment options available there might be different funds with varying risk levels. You could even check the performance of the main funds periodically using independent websites like TrustNet, as mentioned in the sources.
What about personal pensions? Who are they for?
Personal pensions are options for people who are self-employed or for anyone wanting to save more towards retirement on top of their workplace pension. There are different types, like stakeholder pensions, which have capped charges and usually limited fund choices, or SIPPs, self-invested personal pensions.
SIPPs.
They offer much wider investment choice, allowing you to pick from thousands of funds, shares, investment trusts, etc. More control, but potentially more complexity and sometimes higher platform fees.
The sources mentioned a concerning statistic about self-employed people and pensions.
Yeah, a high percentage, something like 45% in the source data, didn't have any pension savings at all. They miss out hugely on the tax advantages.
So what should self-employed people do?
Seriously consider setting one up, maybe a SIPP. Treat it like a business expense. Set up a regular direct debit from your business account into your pension each month. Contractors who work on higher day rates also need to remember they must factor in covering their own pension contributions and other benefits, like sick pay that employees get automatically. That needs to be built into their rate.
Is it just about pensions? Or are there other ways to save for retirement?
Building wealth in various tax wrappers is a good strategy. Using ISS, tax-free growth and income, and potentially general investment accounts alongside your pensions gives you flexibility.
Flexibility how?
It allows you to potentially switch between drawing income from the most tax-preferential source, depending on your circumstances and the tax rules at the time you retire. Remember, income from state, workplace, and personal pensions, as well as things like rental income, is generally taxable in retirement above your personal allowance. ISA withdrawals are tax-free. Diversifying your retirement income sources can be smart.
What about the idea of your home being your pension? Is that realistic?
The sources questioned this common assumption. Your home only really acts like a pension if you plan to sell it when you retire, buy somewhere significantly cheaper, and then live off the equity released.
You need to consider if that's actually feasible.
Exactly. Will your current home's value allow you to buy somewhere suitable in an area you want to live and release enough cash to live on for potentially 20, 30 years? It's not a guaranteed plan for everyone.
Okay, so how do people get their retirement planning properly on track? What are the steps?
First step, especially if you've had multiple jobs, is to trace any scattered or lost pensions.
How do you do that?
Contact your previous employer's HR departments or the pension providers directly if you know who they were. Get up-to-date valuations, find out about the underlying funds and charges. Be patient, as fraud checks can take time. Add all this info to your main financial summary spreadsheet.
Then work out how much you might actually need in retirement.
Yes, create a realistic retirement budget planner. Think about your likely expenses. They might be lower in some areas, commuting, gone, but higher in others, leisure, healthcare. Use online pension calculators to project how your current savings might grow versus what you estimate you'll need. See if there's a potential shortfall to address.
And make sure you're getting the maximum employer match in your current job.
Absolutely critical first step for workplace pensions. Don't miss out on that free money.
If changing jobs, check the new pension offer carefully.
Yes. Is it at least as good as your old one in terms of employer contributions and fund choice charges? If not, you might need to negotiate a higher salary to compensate so you can contribute more yourself.
Reviewing investment fund performance periodically.
Good practice. Use tools like TrustNet as mentioned. Compare your funds against relevant benchmarks. Try to understand why performance might differ. If you're unsure, consider getting independent financial advice specifically on fund selection based on your risk attitude and goals.
And set reminders.
Yeah, the sources suggested setting a diary reminder maybe every 6 months or annually, specifically to review your pensions and other long-term investments. Stay engaged with it.
And that statistic about lost pensions, 400 million unclaimed.
Staggering figure from the government, wasn't it? Given the average person might have 11 jobs in their lifetime, that's potentially a lot of small pension pots to track down. The government's pension tracing service website, gov.uk, is the place to start if you think you might have lost track of one. It's definitely worth doing.
Absolutely. Okay, another crucial piece of financial savvy is protecting yourself and your future income with insurance.
Yes, and the sources make a really compelling point here. We insure our phones, our cars, our pets.
But often neglect our most valuable asset.
Exactly, our ability to earn an income. If you couldn't work due to long-term illness or injury, how would you pay the bills?
So, income protection insurance.
Often considered the single most important financial planning product according to the sources. If your employer doesn't offer robust long-term sick pay cover, check your contract, you should seriously consider a personal policy.
What should you look for in a policy?
Key things are, it should pay out if you can't do your specific job. Check the definition carefully. Own occupation is best, not just any job. It should ideally pay out for as long as you need it, right up to retirement age if necessary. It should have few exclusions. And ideally, the payout amount should be linked to inflation so its value doesn't decrease over time.
Is it expensive?
The price depends on your age, health, whether you smoke, the amount of cover you need, and how long you want the policy to pay out for. But it can be surprisingly affordable when you're younger and healthier, maybe £30 a month, the sources suggested, for potentially thousands of pounds of monthly cover until retirement if you needed it.
Wow. What about critical illness cover?
This works differently. It pays out a one-off tax-free lump sum if you are diagnosed with one of a list of specific critical illnesses defined in the policy, things like cancer, heart attack, stroke.
What's the point of that?
The lump sum is often used to cover major expenses that might arise from the illness, or, commonly, to pay off the mortgage so housing costs are removed if you can't work. When shopping for this, the sources advise looking for a quality contract that covers a wide range of illnesses and definitions.
And life cover.
This is simpler. It pays out a lump sum upon your death, often used to pay off debts like a mortgage or provide for dependents. The sources suggest that once you've found a reputable provider, you can often go for the cheapest premium here, as the quality check is less critical than for income protection or critical illness. The trigger, death, is pretty unambiguous.
Okay. There was a very practical tip about writing insurance policies in trust. What does that mean?
Yes, this is really important, especially for life cover. It's usually a simple extra form you fill out with the insurance provider when you take out the policy, or you can often do it later for existing policies.
What does it do?
It means the payout from the policy goes into a legal trust for your named beneficiaries, rather than forming part of your legal estate when you die.
Why is that good?
2 main reasons. Firstly, it usually avoids potential inheritance tax on the payout itself. Secondly, and often more importantly, it means the money can be paid out much, much faster to your family, often within weeks, rather than getting tied up in the lengthy legal process of probate, which can take months or even years. This gets the money to your loved ones quickly when they are likely grieving and stressed. It's a simple step with huge benefits.
Definitely sounds worthwhile. So overall, get an overview of any existing cover you have.
Yes, check what cover you might already have through your work, death and service benefits, sick pay, or any personal policies you hold. List them on your financial summary spreadsheet. Call the insurers if you're unclear on the details or coverage levels. Know what protection you have and where the gaps might be.
Okay, stepping back into planning again, the sources discussed planning for those expensive life moments, big birthdays, weddings, maybe major holidays.
Yeah, the key message here was simple. These moments should ideally be planned and pre-saved for, not treated as impulsive splashes funded by debt or raiding other savings.
Planning ahead reduces stress and guilt and actually increases the enjoyment.
Exactly. Knowing you've saved for it makes it feel better. Predictable costs like Christmas, for example, should really be saved for monthly throughout the year to avoid that awful January debt hangover.
Makes sense. Weddings, hen, and stag parties, usually known well in advance.
Yep. Plenty of time usually to allocate a specific monthly budget amount towards them in your savings plan. If you find yourself in a phase of life where these events are coming thick and fast, maybe start putting a bit aside each month before the invitations even arrive, just to preempt the costs.
Good strategy. Now, money and relationships. This can be a really complex area, can't it?
Hugely. Money is often a taboo subject, and our views and habits around it are deeply shaped by our upbringing. This difference in perspective can easily lead to arguments or tension with a partner.
What were the top tips for discussing finances with a partner?
Key things included: talk about both the good and the bad. Share your financial dreams and goals, but also be open about your worries or mistakes.
And crucially, be honest about debt.
Absolutely critical. The sources cited research showing a significant percentage, nearly 30% of UK adults had a partner later reveal serious debt they hadn't known about, and 18% admitted hiding debts themselves. The advice is, fess up early, make a joint plan to tackle any existing debt together, and also try to understand why the debt happened in the first place. Perhaps it points to joint overspending habits that you both need to address to avoid falling back into debt later.
Budgeting should be a shared task too, not just one person's job.
Definitely. It should be a joint effort. And if your incomes differ significantly, have an open conversation about how to split joint bills fairly, maybe proportionally based on income, rather than automatically assuming a strict 50-50 split, which might put unfair pressure on the lower earner.
Plan for potential income changes as well.
Yeah, discuss the impact if one partner is thinking about taking a significant pay cut, maybe for a career change or to spend more time with family. Use your budget planner based on the new factual income figures to see the real impact and decide together on any necessary adjustments or sacrifices. Don't just drift into it.
For couples living together but not married, the sources strongly recommended considering a cohabiting agreement, sometimes called a no-noop.
Yes. This is a formal legal document that outlines your financial arrangements while you're living together and, crucially, what happens to assets, like property, savings, and debts if you were to split up.
Why is that so important?
It's particularly important if one partner owns the property you live in, but the other contributes significantly towards the mortgage or bills or pays for major improvements. English law doesn't recognize common law marriage living together doesn't automatically give you financial rights to your partner's assets if you split up, unlike in divorce. A cohabiting agreement provides clarity and protection for both partners. You'd need separate solicitors to draw it up properly.
Good to know. Separating finances after a relationship ends, whether married or not, can be incredibly tricky.
Especially if it was a long relationship or if you have very different views on money. The advice is to aim for discussions focused on the practical facts and figures rather than emotions as much as possible. Maybe even practice the conversation with a neutral friend or relative first.
And understand the huge costs of separation itself.
Yes, setting up a whole new home, suddenly having to cover all the bills on your own, it's a massive financial shock. You need to reassess the long-term impact on your own finances, assets you might have given away, your future ability to save, the effect on your long-term goals. Adjust your goals and budget planner realistically for your new circumstances.
Divorce costs can be massive too.
Potentially huge, yes. Court fees, thousands in legal fees, potentially tens or even hundreds of thousands if things get very contentious. The sources strongly advise trying to avoid racking up massive legal bills discussing feelings or grievances with solicitors. Use friends, family, or a counselor for emotional support. Keep legal discussions focused on the financial settlement.
Even just moving out of a shared rental house requires financial planning, doesn't it? Beyond just the physical move.
Absolutely. Check your tenancy agreement carefully first. Understand your responsibilities, especially if it's a joint and several liability contract.
What does that mean?
It means the landlord can legally chase any of the remaining tenants for the entire rent amount if one person leaves without paying their share. So, leaving needs to be managed properly with the landlord and remaining housemates.
Okay.
Get final utility meter readings and agree how to split the final bills fairly with your housemates. Apps were mentioned that can help with this. Understand your checkout obligations regarding cleaning, etc. to maximize getting your deposit back. Take photos as proof of condition when you leave.
And the deposit itself. Landlords have legal obligations.
Yes, your landlord must legally protect your deposit in one of the government-approved tenancy deposit schemes, and they must return it to you or agree deductions within 10 days of you both agreeing the amount, usually via the scheme. Make sure your deposit is protected when you move in.
Okay. Let's move to another subject often avoided. End-of-life financial planning.
Yeah, definitely a taboo subject for many, but the sources stress its importance for providing peace of mind, both for you now and for those you might leave behind later.
They recommend creating a when I'm dead file.
Sounds a bit morbid, but it's incredibly practical. It's just a central place to keep key information organized for your next of kin or executor.
What you got?
Things like a summary of any life insurance policies, provider, policy number, payout amount, contact details, copies of any trust documents, details of any life cover provided through your work, death and service benefits amount, HR contact, a copy of your main financial summary spreadsheet showing your assets and debts, a copy of your will and your solicitor's contact details, and your financial advisor's contact info if you have one.
Just makes it easier for someone else to sort things out.
Exactly. Less stressful at a difficult time. They also raise the interesting question of your digital footprint.
What happens to all your online accounts? Banking, social media, shopping logins?
Yeah, the average person apparently has over 100 online accounts now. What happens to them when you die? It's something relatively new to consider in estate planning. Maybe leave a secure list of accounts, not passwords, for your executor.
And making a will is crucial.
Absolutely essential, according to the sources. If you die intestate without a valid will, strict laws of intestacy determine who inherits your assets. This might be very different from what you would have wanted.
So a will ensures your money and possessions go where you intend.
Yes. While simple will templates exist, the sources note that making mistakes, like improper witnessing or signing, can make the will invalid, causing huge emotional and financial costs later. Getting it done properly is vital. And a key point. In England and Wales, getting married automatically voids any existing will unless it was specifically written in anticipation of that marriage. So update your will after marrying.
What to know?
Yeah.
Looking even further ahead, the sources discuss some of the potential costs associated with aging, like private medical insurance.
Yes. Premiums tend to increase annually, often by 3–5% or more as you get older. The benefit is potentially faster access to specialists, shorter waiting times, and more choice of hospital or doctor compared to relying solely on the NHS. Costs vary significantly by location, though London is much more expensive.
And social care costs, like needing help at home or moving into a care home.
This is a big one. Social care provided by the council is not free. It's heavily means-tested based on both your care needs and your financial assets. Savings, investments, often your home's value.
Care homes are very expensive.
Extremely expensive, yes. The sources quoted figures from Age UK suggesting average costs of over £600 per week for a care home and over £800 per week for a nursing home. And that was back in 2018, so likely higher now.
Wow. And the means test.
If your assets, including savings and potentially your home, are above a certain threshold, around £23,250 in England in 2018, but check current figures, you generally have to pay the full cost yourself until your assets drop below the threshold. Below a lower threshold, £14,250 in 2018, the council contributes significantly, but between the two thresholds, you contribute on a sliding scale based on your assets and income.
Is your home always included in the assets test?
Not always. It's usually disregarded if your spouse, partner, or certain other relatives, like a dependent child or an elderly disabled relative, are still living there permanently.
Hmm.
But if you live alone and move into permanent care, your home's value is usually countered. You only get left with a very small personal expenses allowance each week, £24.90 in 2018 from your income.
So funding long-term care can potentially wipe out savings and assets.
It can, yes. It's a major potential cost in later life that needs awareness. The sources also noted checking eligibility for any non-means tested disability benefits, like attendance allowance or PIP, if care is needed, as these can help towards costs regardless of your savings. And the significant average cost of a funeral was mentioned over £4,000, which can be planned for using prepaid funeral plans, check exactly what they cover, or specific over 50s life insurance policies.
Okay, so with all this information, how do people stay on track long-term? The sources offered some general organizational tips.
Yeah, firstly, if you feel like you've gone off course with your budget or goals, don't despair. It happens. Just reassess your budget, maybe re-automate some savings transfers, remind yourself of your goals, and get back on track. Don't beat yourself up.
Use diary reminders for key financial admin tasks.
Definitely. For instance, set a reminder 3 months before your current mortgage deal ends. That gives you plenty of time to contact a broker and find a new competitive deal before you slip onto the lender's expensive standard variable rate. Same for your rental contract ending, gives you time to ask the agent about renewal costs or potential rent increases and decide what to do.
Having an annual financial check-in day.
Good idea. Maybe pick a date, perhaps in the autumn. October organization was suggested, to specifically review things like your buildings and contents insurance. Are you getting the best rate? Is the cover still right? Check energy deals, again using comparison sites, and review any other personal insurance policies. Keep them competitive.
Doing an annual budget for the year ahead.
Yes, maybe in December. Looking ahead helps you plan and save for any big anticipated expenses in the coming year. New laptop, major holiday, and keeps your savings and investment goals front of mind as the new year starts.
And consistently implementing that tip about increasing savings or retirement contributions every time you get a pay rise.
That's probably one of the single most powerful habits you can build for long-term financial success, according to the material. Make it automatic.
Reviewing savings rates and investment performance annually.
Yes, maybe around the start of the new tax year in April. Check if your savings accounts are still competitive. Look at how your investments have performed over the past year compared to benchmarks. Allows you to make informed adjustments if needed.
And if paperwork is really a barrier for you.
Invest in simple filing accessories that make it easier. Nice folders, a label maker, whatever removes the friction and helps you stay organized.
Okay. Finally, the sources discuss the financial implications of some specific, often expensive life choices. Just to give context.
Yeah.
Like pets.
Yeah, pets bring huge joy, but involve a significant lifetime cost, far beyond the initial purchase or adoption fee. The sources cited figures suggesting a dog could cost over £17,000 over a lifetime, a cat potentially more.
Wow, what makes up that cost?
Annual costs include vet checkups and jabs, insurance, highly recommended, food, grooming, plus potentially dog walkers or kennel cattery fees when you go on holiday. It adds up over £1,100 a year for a dog was estimated. Tips included considering adopting from a shelter, buying food in bulk, or maybe exchanging pet sitting favors with friends.
Weddings, another potentially huge expense.
Massive. The sources emphasize using a budget planner right from the start, allocating monthly savings towards the goal, and definitely having an emergency buffer within the wedding budget for unexpected costs.
Tips for keeping wedding costs down.
Have that potentially awkward conversation with parents early on about whether they plan to contribute financially. Shop around and negotiate hard with suppliers. Ask recently married friends for realistic cost insights. Accept practical help from talented friends or family as gifts. Cake making, photography, music. Watch the small decor costs, they add up fast. Opt for fewer, larger head flowers. Keep the guest list tight if possible, as cost per head is often the biggest factor. Check for seasonal price differences for venues or suppliers. And don't overpay or apparently a fifth of wedding food gets thrown away. Remember, the basic registration office fee is actually quite low, $46 is mentioned.
Okay. The material also highlighted the Dingquai phase. Double income, no kids yet.
Yes, this is often a period of relatively high disposable income compared to later life stages. The sources frame this as a golden opportunity.
An opportunity to do what?
To really accelerate your wealth building. Use this phase to aggressively pay down debt, build up significant savings and investments towards goals like early retirement, extensive travel, or saving a large property deposit. The advice was, Revisit your goals and budget during this phase to consciously make the most of this financial window. Don't just let the extra cash drift away on lifestyle inflation.
And then, having children. Universally known to be expensive.
Hugely expensive. The sources cited reports estimating the basic cost of raising one child to age 18, excluding housing, childcare, and higher education, running into well over £75,000 for a couple, and significantly more for lone parents. Other estimates, including everything up to age 21, put the figure closer to £250,000, plus even with state schooling, rising dramatically with private education.
Where does all that money go?
Childcare is a massive cost, especially in the early years. Then there's education costs, even state schools have costs, bigger housing needs, food, clothing, holidays, activities, hobbies. It all adds up relentlessly. The conclusion was, there's never really a perfect financial time to have kids, but understanding the likely costs helps you plan as best you can.
They briefly explain some of the financial support available too. Maternity, paternity leave pay.
Yes, explaining the basics of statutory maternity and paternity pay for employed parents, usually 90% of earnings for 6 weeks, then a lower flat rate, but check employer policy for enhancements. Shared parental leave allows parents to share leave. For the self-employed, maternity allowance is available for eligible moms, but controversially, no equivalent statutory pay for self-employed dads was noted.
Child benefit.
Yes, but it's now means tested based on individual high earners, not household income. If either partner earns over £50,000, check current thresholds, the benefit starts to be tapered away. If either earns over £60,000, you lose it completely. This catches out couples where one earns just over the threshold, even if the other earns nothing.
And childcare costs themselves.
Noted as being particularly high in the UK compared to other countries. Daily nursery fees of £40–60, rising to £90–100 in London, were mentioned as typical.
But there are government schemes to help.
Yes, several were outlined. Childcare vouchers, a salary sacrifice scheme being phased out, tax-free childcare, where the government adds £2 for every £8 you pay into a specific account, up to £2,000 government contribution per child per year, and the 30 hours free childcare for eligible working parents of 3–4-year-olds, though free might not cover the full cost at all providers. Eligibility for these often depends on both parents working minimum hours and having individual incomes below £100K. There's also potential help via the childcare element of working tax credit universal credit for lower income families.
So the key takeaway is, research the current rules and eligibility for these schemes carefully as they change, but they can significantly offset childcare costs if you qualify.
Exactly. Worth investigating thoroughly.
Wow. Okay. That was a really comprehensive deep dive through all that material. We've covered so much ground.
We really have, from setting those first goals and understanding basic taxes,
through mastering budgeting, tackling the psychology and strategies for debt,
building savings, demystifying investing, and compounding,
planning for retirement, the importance of insurance,
navigating money in relationships, planning for big life events, even end-of-life stuff.
It really has been a journey through these sources, hopefully taking us and you listening from potentially feeling overwhelmed and maybe a bit scared about money,
to building a much more solid foundational understanding across all these key areas.
The core message running through it all seems to be about shifting perspective, doesn't it? Seeing money not as this source of dread or complexity,
but as a tool you can learn to understand, control, and use strategically to actually achieve the life you want.
You now have a wealth of knowledge, practical tips, and concrete insights pulled directly from this material to hopefully help you feel more confident and proactive about your finances starting today. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of bringing together some of those powerful concepts we've explored, particularly the impact of time and the potential for overlooked opportunities.
Okay.
Given the almost magical power of compounding when you start investing early for retirement, and that staggering statistic about potentially hundreds of millions sitting unclaimed and lost pensions across the UK, what small, actionable step will you take today or maybe this week specifically to benefit your future self?
Good question.
Will you dedicate just 30 minutes to using the government's pension tracing service? Will you finally set up that tiny automatic direct debit into a savings account or a pension, even just £10 a month to start? Or will you simply commit to starting that spending diary for the next 2 weeks just to gain clarity?
The most important step is often just the first one, isn't it? The journey to financial savvy begins now.